Welcome to Hate to See It, starring Mike and Sid, or actually with Mike and Sid. Happy Sunday. How's it going, Mike?
Oh, Sid, how are you doing? It's been an interesting day, to say the least. I went for a walk today. Was having a nice walk, and all of a sudden, I see on the street a hat, and it is filled with dollar bills. I go pick up this hat. I start counting the money. There's about $100 in this hat. I'm very happy, very excited. Continue on my walk. And then all of a sudden, I think I start to hear something, but I have my AirPods in. I'm listening to some music, so I'm not really sure. Keep on going on my walk, and I still hear something. So I turn around. There's this guy behind me, very angry. He's yelling at me, and he's holding a guitar over his head. Isn't that weird? The
That is
next
weird.
the next thing I know, I wake up, my head hurts, and the money's gone.
Ugh,
Really, really strange, isn't it?
that is strange. What exactly happened?
I don't know. You tell me. Maybe our viewers know what happened and they can say in the comments, but I'm just confused and I think I need to go file a police report after the show.
You should. I mean, you were $100 richer. Now you're left with
Yeah.
nothing.
All of a sudden, this guy with a guitar just comes after me. I don't know what was going on. But how are you doing, Sid? It looks like you have made some major changes to your setup at home.
I am doing great, and this is a fantastic day. You know, the last two episodes we had some tech issues.
You
Two
did.
episodes, 2 episodes ago, there was lag. It looked like it was coming from your end because it was fine on my end. But last week, it was everything looked good on my end. But as the viewers could tell, there was a lot of lag coming from me. Like, I thought we had a really great conversation. And at first I was like, let's re-record, but the stuff was really good. And I didn't want to re-record, but I was really upset. I was like, what's going on? Doesn't make sense. I pay for the big boy Wi-Fi in my house, or my apartment, I should say. So what's going on? I'm trying to figure out what is happening. What's causing all this shit? Because it's really pissing me off. Because, when you and I recorded, everything was going fine from what I could tell. And then I could tell some points that you're not confused, but I could tell like there was a delay. And then when I watched the live footage, or not live, but when I watched the footage, I could see why. It's because I was lagging, and then you were trying to piece it together. So I couldn't figure out what was going on. I was like, what do I need to do? So I realized this entire time I've been filming on my iPad. And I was like, maybe it's iPad. Maybe that's the reason, or maybe it's Zoom. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna pull out my MacBook Pro, which, Mike, as you may know, I haven't used that in 4 years.
You mentioned that, yeah.
And the reason for that is because when I adopted El Gato, one morning I get up, I try to turn my laptop on, it's not turning on. I'm like, what the hell's going on? So I look under the desk, my speaker system, the wires were chewed, and my charger were chewed. So I couldn't use my freaking iPad, not my MacBook. I was like, what the hell? I spent like $2,000 on this thing. I can't even use it. At that point, I was like, it's Apple. I don't want to give them more money. I'm not going to spend $80 on another cord. Plus, Gato's going to chew it again. So for 4 years, Mike, I didn't use it. But you know what? I was motivated. I was like, let's get this going. I went online. I ordered a new cord. It was on sale. Paid $20. So I'm like, fantastic. And then I spent some money. I'm like, I got to spend some more. What's next? So then I bought a webcam, Logitech. Looks good so far. What do you think? How do I look with the webcam quality?
The quality is great, Sid, and the sound, you sound a lot better too.
Exactly. Then I was like, let's get this mic. So I got the mic, and I still didn't want to stop. I just wanted to spend even more. So then I got this freaking thing, whatever it's called. So I installed this morning. Ashley gave me her ring light, so I have light in the back, and I got these headphones. So I was like, you know what? I got the full setup. I invested $200. I'm ready to go because you know what? If you want to make money, you got to spend money, and I want to look more professional. And you know what, Mike? If you run into any issues, and I know it's not my equipment, I'm gonna blame Zoom. If that happens, we're off Zoom. We're switching to another platform. Forget about it. That's
Well,
it.
well, Sid, fingers crossed, but I have noticed a huge improvement over last week. I'm not having any problems with lag or anything like that. It really feels like you're in the room with me. This is really cool. I'm looking forward to this.
That's what we want. So I'm excited. You know what? And you got headphones today. Look like a good pair of headphones, but invest as well. I'll send you what I bought. Check it out. Maybe you'll want to invest. Not that it looks bad on your end, but if we can give our viewers some extra motivation to watch because our quality is more professional, let's do it.
I think I'm definitely going to get a webcam. The MacBook Air, I got a new MacBook Air this year, and it's a great laptop. But the one thing that Apple, for whatever reason, is they don't upgrade the webcam. They still have this crappy 720p webcam. It looks grainy. It was fine for our first few episodes, but as we start improving the quality of the show, I definitely think I need to upgrade the webcam. So I think I'm going to do that next week for the
Cool.
next episode.
Sounds good. All right, Mike. Let's get this going. What do you have in store for us?
Let's do it, Sid. Last week we did a segment towards the end of the show. Love to see it, hate to see it, and I don't know why we didn't think of doing that before because it kind of just logically goes with the show. It's a fun format, and the viewers seem to like it. So last week you gave me a few topics. Love to see it, hate to see it. This week I prepared a few for you. So I was hoping we could go through those.
Let's
How's that
do
sound?
it. Perfect.
All right, Sid. Number one. Tiger Woods was hospitalized after a single car collision and underwent emergency surgery to repair compound fractures sustained in each leg, in addition to a shattered ankle. His condition is currently serious but stable. Now, Sid, obviously, we hate to hear about this. Do you have any additional thoughts on this story?
Very sad. You don't like to see it. That's it. That's all I got, Mike.
All right. Well, I'll just add a few things. Tiger Woods is, in my opinion, and many others, the greatest golfer of all time. He's struggled in the latter half of his career with a lot of injuries. You hate to see what could potentially be a career-threatening injury. We're all hoping for Tiger to make a recovery. He won the Masters almost 2 years ago now. It was one of the great moments in modern sports, in my opinion. It was just such a tremendous comeback story for him, and it would just be amazing if he did it again. So we're all hoping for a recovery and another comeback from Tiger.
I agree. Wait, so maybe I got confused. Was that the actual segment, the question, or was there going to be a follow-up on Tiger? Would you like me to say if I love to see the action,
Well,
hate to see it?
I that was the segment. I didn't say love to see it because obviously you don't love to see it.
So
right?
let me just, no, I agree. Let me just expand.
But I wanted it to be a topic because it's from the world of sports. It was a big story.
And of course, no, you truly hate to see it. You never want to, you never want a guy to get injured, especially looking at Tiger now. Seems like he's a better father. He's golfing with his son, who looks to be the next big thing one day. And then you and I have a topic several weeks down the road about the golf tournament, and Tiger would have been a big part of that.
Yes.
So again, you truly hate to see it. Mike and Sid wish you a speedy recovery.
Absolutely. And Sid, we sort of did it last week. I think we should continue it. If you and I both love to see it, you truly love to see it. If we both hate to see it, you truly hate to see it. I was thinking we maybe could introduce some sound effects. So if we both love to see something or both hate to see something, maybe we have like a bell. I'll ring a bell and we'll be like, you truly hate to see it.
I agree. Let's get on that.
Let's do it. All right, Sid. Another story from the world of sports. Novak Djokovic defeated Daniil Medvedev in straight sets to win his 9th Australian Open and 18th overall Grand Slam. He is now just 2 Grand Slam titles behind Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal, who both have 20. Now, Sid, I know you are a big fan of the Joker. Do you love to see it or hate to see it?
Well, actually, let me clarify something. I'm a huge Nadal fan. So Nadal gets my love. And people joke that they can see a lot of similarities between Djokovic and I. And you've said this. I think you've made a comment about that we're both like clowns, right? But at the end of the day, I'm not a huge fan because I support Nadal. And I truly hate to see it because I wanted Nadal to win. And it was really, remarkable because Nadal was a little hurt, but Djokovic was playing like 5-set match after 5-set match, and he got injured during the tournament. He was hurt, and people thought he may not even be able to play the next match, but he just kept playing, and he just kept winning, and he won a tournament. So in that sense, props to Djokovic. That is awesome that he was able to rebound from injury and win. I hate it only because of Nadal losing.
Well, Sid, I knew you were going to say that. I was poking fun at you. I know that you're a Nadal fan. Yeah, for whatever reason, that Australian sun seems to give Djokovic superpowers. He is just dominant on the Australian hard courts. For some reason, he's not as dominant on the hard courts in Queens, New York, because he doesn't have as many U.S. Open titles. But it was he did have that midsection injury during the tournament, and he was having long matches, like you mentioned. But he seemed to recover in the semifinals, and then in the finals, he just made quick work of Medvedev, who is a good player in his own right.
He is.
So I'm a big fan of Djokovic, so I love to see it. We're just gonna have to agree to disagree on this one.
And just I want to add some more thing. Back in the day, Agassi, he's got Armenian heritage like myself, so he was my favorite. And Agassi was one of the best ever in Australia.
Yes,
And I didn't think anyone would top that. It's not that Agassi had many wins, but the fact that Djokovic has won so many times in Australia, again, that's his place. Just like the French Open is to Nadal.
yes.
So, Mike, you're off to a great start. Sorry to interrupt, but two good questions so far.
Okay, Sid. Moving right along. Last Sunday, WWE ran its annual Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. Drew McIntyre successfully defended the WWE title in the Elimination Chamber, but then after the match, Bobby Lashley, who had lost his U.S. championship earlier in the night, came out and beat the hell out of Drew McIntyre. Then The Miz came out and took advantage of the situation. He cashed in his Money in the Bank contract, and he pinned Drew McIntyre to become a two-time WWE champion and the first ever two-time Grand Slam champion in WWE history. Love to see it or hate to see it?
I love to see it. I've been a huge fan of The Miz since he was on one of my favorite shows growing up, Road Rules and Real World. And it was always cool to see him having goals and hopes to become a wrestler. And the fact that he became one and is now two-time Grand Slam champion, that's so impressive, Mike. It's like you and I starting off in his podcast and eventually becoming famous. He followed his dreams, he followed his hopes, he made it happen. He's still there. He's loyal to WWE, and fans hate him. And I love that. I love that fans hate him. And I know Scalise hates him. And Scalise, he's your champion. He is our champion. So that's why I love to see it. What about you, Mike?
You know what, Sid? I agree with you. And you know what that means? You truly love to see it.
Love to see it.
Now,
Boom.
a lot of people don't like The Miz, but you're not supposed to like The Miz. He's a heel. He's a bad guy. Now, one of the things with The Miz, one of the legitimate criticisms I think that some people have of this is that The Miz has kind of sucked lately. He really has. He's been in this shitty tag team with Morrison. He's been in abysmal segments that they're supposed to be funny, but they're not. Now, a couple years ago, Miz was on a really hot streak. He was pretty much back and forth between being intercontinental champion or challenging for that title. He was actually doing really good matches. He became a good wrestler. He had some good matches with Seth Rollins. And then after that, he had a good feud with Shane McMahon, where he became a babyface, and he surprised a lot of people because you think of Miz being such an annoying bad guy, but he ended up being very likable and had a good WrestleMania match with Shane McMahon. So he was hot 1 or 2 years ago, but this past year, he really hasn't been that hot. So some people think that this kind of came out of nowhere. He doesn't deserve the sun right now, but I think WWE needed to do something to shake things up right before WrestleMania. I like Drew McIntyre, but
I'll be right back.
Okay. I'll just finish up what I was saying. I like Drew McIntyre a lot, but I think the storyline was getting a little bit stale with him as champion. So I think this was a good time to change titles. Put the title on The Miz. I'm personally a proponent of having the title on heels. That's a term in wrestling to refer to bad guys. I think a lot of times the storylines are more interesting when the bad guy has a title because you you really want to get that title off the bad guy. You're rooting for the babyface, the good guy, to win and take it off him. This sets up the opportunity for Drew McIntyre to maybe win that title back at WrestleMania and be able to celebrate in front of the fans, which he was not able to do last year due to COVID. So those are kind of the reasons I love to see it. Any other thoughts on this, Sid?
I agree 100% with everything you're saying. You made some really good points. And not to cut this short, but the reason I left, El Gato, he found the cords of my equipment. He was trying to chew it. So you truly hate to see it. I had to kick him out. That's why we can have nice things, because we get a cat that loves to rip cords. But I think he is distracted and left. But no, I think it's always important to have a good heel. You want people to rally around the baby face. And I think Miz does that. And the other thing is, there was a good interview this week about how Miz, he's been loyal to Vince, and Vince is loyal to him. He never complains. He just does what he needs to do. And I think Vince rewarded him for that. So, I love to see it. I think you love to see it. So we truly love to see it.
We truly love to see it. Now, Sid, moving on from the world of sports and sports entertainment, my last two topics for you are from the world of video games, a hobby that we both enjoy. The first one, Sony presented a new state of play that gave gamers a look at what the future holds for PlayStation 5. Highlights included the announcement of Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, a deep dive into Returnal, a release date for Kena Bridge of Spirits, and also a new Deathloop trailer. What did you think of this state of play, Sid? Love to see it or hate to see it?
I'm a Sony fanboy. I love Sony, but this was a disappointment. Yes, there were some cool things that they displayed and showed, but and I texted you, I wasn't expecting much, and I think they just disappointed. Like, it was cool, the Final Fantasy stuff. I'm a huge Final Fantasy. Gato, oh my God, this guy's being annoying today. 1 second, Mike, just continue, please.
Yeah. Sid, I think you're actually spot on this one. I'm surprised a little bit surprised to hear that I guess you hate to see it because you did tell me not to expect much from this state of play. It wasn't super hyped. People weren't expecting any big news from some of the major Sony first parties. It was really going to be an update on what's coming soon to the PS5 and stuff that we already knew about, but Sony wanted to highlight and show us a little bit more of. So for that reason, since you told me not to expect that much, I thought you were going to say love to see it because Sony, it was fine. Sony did what they needed to do. Final Fantasy VII, the PS5 version looks really cool. So, I mean, if that's your perspective, yeah, I could see why you might say love to see it. I still think it's hate to see it. I hate to see it just because it was kind of a letdown, even though expectations weren't that high. I would have loved it if they had some Miles Morales DLC. I mean, that's a game that could have some DLC. That wouldn't be like a humongous announcement. It wouldn't be this blockbuster announcement by any means, but you could show some DLC from that game. It would be pretty exciting. And that's a game I really liked. It was one of my favorite games from last year. So yeah, I hate to see it, but it wasn't that bad. It was fine, but
yeah, it was fine. But again, nothing spectacular.
Yeah, so I guess we could truly hate to see this one, but it's kind of meh. Let's put it that way.
But no, you did a good job of setting that up, and it looks like you've done your research on those games that are coming out. The one thing I hated, being on the West Coast, this was shown at 2:00 while I'm working. Last minute, my bosses sent me a virtual Teams meeting, Microsoft Teams. So I'm in a meeting, watching the thing on my phone, and it just sucks. It just sucks when you're working and trying to watch something at the same time. You get distracted. But I guess luckily there wasn't anything major because I would have reacted favorably to that, and my managers would have known that I was distracted. So in that sense, it was good that nothing made it seem that I was not really paying attention at work. Sorry, guys.
Well, Sid, that really allows us to circle back on our conversation from last week where we were talking about East Coast versus West Coast. And one of the things I asked you about is, are there things that happen during the week where you're at work and other people are at home able to watch things from the comfort of their couch, and you are at work and not able to see that? And this was just a good example of that.
Good point. I agree.
And just one more thing on that, Sid. Kena Bridge of Spirits is a beautiful looking game, and I'm excited for that. It looks like maybe it's um, uh, a Legend of Zelda type game, or maybe a Horizon Zero Dawn type game. This developer I'd never heard of, and I think it's their first game, but it is a Sony first party effort. That could be a sleeper hit this year. We will see.
And before we continue, what was the other game you mentioned? I think from Horsemouth, that's the developer. You'd mentioned another game that they showcased.
Well, there was Returnal.
Returnal.
A lot of people are excited for that game. Housemark, right?
Yes, exactly. I'm looking forward to that too. I want to see more. It looks pretty. It looks fun. It looks like it takes place maybe in space or something. So I'm intrigued to see what that's about.
Yeah, yeah. There's exciting things coming to PS5 this year. All right, Sid. Moving on to our last topic in Love to See It, Hate to See It. In celebration of Pokemon's 25th anniversary, the Pokemon Company made some major news during its Pokemon Presents event. They showed a new trailer for new Pokemon Snap, which comes out in April. They announced Gen 4 remakes called Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Pokemon Shining Pearl. These are remakes of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl from the Nintendo DS. And they announced a new open world game called Pokemon Legends Arceus, which a lot of people are referring to as Breath of the Pokemon. Love to see it or hate to see it?
I love to see it. You know, I got on Pokemon Train a little late. My first one was the last one that came out for the Switch. It was a good game, Mike. Nothing spectacular. I could have used more, but I think both games I'm really looking forward to. I want to dive deep into more Pokemon, and I think it'll be fun to play those games. So, and it was also cool, not cool, but I'm glad that Switch held off on that because during the Nintendo Direct, we could have used more. And then they surprised us a couple days later with this Pokemon Direct. So I'm also hoping that means there's more Zelda stuff to come. And I'm hoping Nintendo held back from the Nintendo Direct. But again, I love it. I'm excited. A role-playing Pokemon game. You know, I'm really looking forward to playing it in 2022. I hope there's no delays, but I can't wait. What about you, Mike?
Yeah, I love to see it as well. And you make a really good point, because when you combine last week's Nintendo Direct with this week's Pokemon Presents, people were complaining about Nintendo's lineup for the Switch this year. But now when you combine both of those events, the lineup is looking fairly solid. They just came out with Square Enix just released Bravely Default 2, which reviewed pretty well. It's from a popular RPG series. In April, you have new Pokemon Snap coming, and a lot of people are really, really hyped for this game. Pokemon Snap was an N64 game that was kind of a cult hit. Basically, you go through this safari with Pokemon in it, and you take pictures of them. It's a fun little game, but some people really love this game. So that's coming out in April. June, you have Mario Golf coming. July, you have the Skyward Sword HD remaster. End of the year, you have the Gen 4 remakes of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl.
Vibration. You need vibration on your phone.
Yes, you're right.
You're distracted.
And then early next year, they said that that Pokemon Legends game is coming out. There are some highly credible rumors that Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD remasters are coming out.
I hope. I'll be pumped.
And I think there's going to be at least one major game that they're holding off and announcing. So, yeah, things are looking pretty good for the Switch, especially if you're also a PS5 owner like you and I both are. It's kind of something that can fill in the gaps when we're waiting for some of the major PS5 releases.
Yep.
So it's a good time to be a gamer. I love to see it. You love to see it. You truly love to see it.
Before we move on, what is this picture?
Oh,
speaking of video games,
it looks like it's from the Red Dead Redemption universe.
That is correct. Yes, it is. First game I love. Second game I also enjoyed. Not as good as the first one, but that's a game, Mike, I wish we all played online. Because it'd be freaking fun if you, Dirk, myself, maybe a little bit of Scruffy Duffy, of course, Greg Sum, if we all play that, I think it'd be a great time. Because we had a lot of fun for the GTA Online, which is still going strong. They're still putting out content for that. But yeah, I wish we played some online Red Dead Redemption 2. But good guess. I'm not guess. You were right.
Yeah. Very cool, Sid. Why don't we move on to the
Wait, wait,
main?
before we
Yes.
move on, I want to do
Okay.
something here.
All right.
Let me see if this works. Let's figure this out because it's something I want to talk about. You need to actually, it says you've disabled screen sharing. Can you enable it, please?
All right, I enabled it so multiple participants can share
Perfect.
simultaneously. Does that help you?
Yeah, I can share now.
Okay.
Let me know when you can see my screen.
I see Ellie from Last of Us 2.
Nice. All right, what do you see right now?
You truly love to see it.
Perfect. Is it a big screen, big picture? Is it clear?
Yeah, it's a big picture, and then us are on the in small pictures on the side. It's good.
Awesome. Good. One thing I want to talk about, Mike, something that I truly love to see. And let's move on. Let's see. As everyone knows, I love Dunkin' Donuts. That is one of my favorite places. I am obsessed with it, Mike. During college, at one point, I don't know if you remember or not, our housemate, Brian Hadley, him and I made a bet. And it's a crazy bet. But basically, he's like, I'll buy you Dunkin' Donuts, just one iced coffee, if I did not talk for an entire day. Now, that's a stupid bet, but I love winning and I love Dunkin' Donuts. So I took the bet, and it was on a day, Mike, where I had class from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So imagine the entire day I could not talk. I was in class and teachers were asking me questions. People were talking to me, and I just had to point at my throat and just not talk. And I won that bet and I got Dunkin' Donuts. But, well, not but, there is someone else that also loves Dunkin' Donuts. Legendary actor Ben Affleck. And Ben Affleck is obsessed with it as well. And I love to see that. So, and I've sent you texts about this. There's a lot of pictures, a lot online with Ben drinking Dunkin' Donuts.
Yes.
And I'm obsessed with it. I just love it. Gato, you're ruining my segment. You need to get the fuck out of here.
Well, Ben is going through a very tough breakup right now, and he needs his comfort food. And what better comfort food is there than Dunkin' Donuts?
Exactly. Again, Ben drinking, looking good. Looks like he likes milk on his coffee, which is great. It kind of looks like the way I drink my coffee or used to drink. Wait. Is that me drinking some Dunkin' Donuts, looking cool? Mike, yesterday when we didn't record is because Ashley and I had a photo shoot.
Oh no.
Again, Ben Affleck, paparazzi catching him drinking Dunkin' Donuts. Again, that's me. Another one. Look at Ben. Look how in love he is. He is admiring his Dunkin' Donuts. You love to see that.
Oh, you truly do.
Me as well. There I am with my Dunkin' Donuts. Ben walking down the street with his Dunkin' Donuts. Me walking down the street with my Dunkin' Donuts. This really warms my heart. Oh, look at this. Paparazzi again. And the paparazzi, they love taking pictures of him. Leave the man alone.
Go ahead. Looks like Shia LaBeouf in that picture.
He does. He looks unhappy. Maybe this is again during the breakup with the new blonde girl, but just leave him alone. Let him enjoy his Dunkin' Donuts. Again, leave me alone. I just want to enjoy my Dunkin' Donuts. And look at this beautiful collage. Ben, myself, Dunkin' Donuts. You truly love to see it.
Sid, I am so impressed at this. This is really amazing that you went through all this effort. I think you really need to tweet this at Ben Affleck. Share it with him on Instagram. I think he needs to see this. This needs to go viral.
I agree. I think he would appreciate it. Are we back to a normal view?
We are.
And good job, by the way. When I asked you to enable my screen sharing, I was going to text you ahead of time and be like, Mike, please enable it. But I didn't want to ruin the surprise. So I didn't say anything. You quickly
I'm really surprised.
And right now, I tried not to drink before, but I got my Dunkin' Donuts. I'm ready to go. Let's dive deep into our topic for this week.
And what is that topic, Sid?
So today is the first day of spring training. Baseball season has officially started. There are games happening probably right now. And, you know, if you want to stay current, we want to talk about stuff that is happening. And what better topic than baseball? So, Mike, are you excited about this topic? Are you excited about baseball season?
I am really excited about this topic. As you know, I'm a big New York Yankees fan. Um, you are a big New York Mets fan,
I am,
or
unfortunately.
at least you were. Now you're in San Diego, and the San Diego Padres, they made some moves this offseason. They got you Darvish, right, and Blake Snell.
They did. They are, for a small market team, they are spending money. They want to win. They signed Fernando Tatis Jr. to a huge contract. Huge. And people are like, how can they afford him? Because they want to win. Things are changing. And there's a lot of stuff happening in San Diego. It's not the small market that people thought it was. And I love being here. But yeah, no, I used to be a Mets fan. I guess I still am, but it's hard not to root for the Padres. They have their slogan, it's escaping me right now, Slam Diego, because they're constantly hitting those home runs. Fernando Tatis Jr. is hitting those home runs. So they're an exciting team. How'd you become a Yankees fan?
Yeah, that's kind of a funny question. Because my dad grew up a New York Mets fan. Um, was a big fan of that '69 Mets team that won the World Series. And when I was very little, they tried to raise me as a Mets fan. And one of my early birthday parties, which I still remember, I was probably 4 years old. They took me to Shea Stadium with some of my friends, and we went to a Mets game. There are pictures of that. I don't know if I've ever shown you any of those pictures, but there are pictures of little Mike Smith wearing a Mets jersey and a Mets hat. Did
That's
you know
cool.
this? Did you know that,
I
Sid?
didn't I didn't know that. I knew that your dad was, but I forgot, or not forgot. I didn't know that part. That's pretty cool. Do you know how I became a Mets fan?
I do not.
So when I was in third grade, first day of third grade, I walk into the classroom, and then the principal's like, El Cid, the teacher has been waiting all summer to
Sid.
meet you. Well, she called me El Cid, and there's a purpose for that. She's like, El Cid, she's been waiting to meet you. And I'm scared. I'm like, why does this nun want to meet me? So it turns out the nun is a huge Mets fan. Imagine that, a nun loving baseball, right? And she was like, El Cid, there was a pitcher on the Mets when they won the World Series, Sid Fernandez. His nickname was El Cid. Vibration. Switch your phone. But but yeah, no, she was a huge Mets fan, and I was like, holy shit, another person named El Cid. That's really rare. Or not name, but nickname El Cid. How many people do you know El Cid? Not many. And true story, when I was looking at colleges, I almost went to this all boys school, which would have been a huge mistake. I did not
Oh,
go there because there was an El Cid at that school. So I
wow.
said, screw that. I'm not going there. I'm going to the other school, which was a great decision. But yeah, that's how I became a Mets fan. Another tidbit for you. I think it was eighth grade. Three Met coaches rented our house when we moved to Manhasset. It was the pitching coach, the hitting coach, and some other coach. The pitching coach was pretty famous, Bob Abadaka, but they rented our house and they were giving us tickets to the games. They were giving us bowls that were signed from the team. Like I had Todd Hundley, I had everyone from that team. So imagine that in high school, I was not high school, eighth grade, I was the popular kid because I was taking all my friends to free Met games. So that's my story about the Mets.
That's cool, Sid. I never heard that one before. I don't think so, at least. Uh, I didn't finish saying how I became a Yankee fan, though.
You did not. Let's hear it.
So, yeah, it's a good question. I think probably part of it was just a little bit of rebellion. Like, my dad wanted to be a Mets fan. So, like, I was like, I'm going to be a Yankee fan. I think that was part of it. And then I think my friends were Yankee fans too. This was in the early 90s. Like, I think the first Yankee team I was really following was probably the 93 Yankee team. And Yankees were always pretty good back then, but this was they were in the middle um, of a championship drought, a pretty long one. Although now they're in, believe it or not, another long championship drought. But the teams were starting to get better. You had great players like Don Mattingly on those teams, um, and it just the hype just kept on increasing with those teams. You had 95, that devastating loss to the Mariners where they got eliminated from the playoffs. Then they bring in Joe Torre. They win the 96 World Series. And man, I have such fond memories of those teams. That was just such a key part of my childhood. Um, I really look fondly back upon those days, and just been a diehard Yankee fan ever since.
I feel bad for you that you had to rebel and root for a team that just keeps winning championships. That must have been really tough to make that switch.
Well, I'm also, as you know, a New York Jets fan.
Ugh,
So it's not like I'm always picking the front runner.
that's true. But no, that's a cool story.
Yeah.
Back in the day when both teams were very competitive, there was nothing better than the Subway Series. It's lost its flair now, but I used to love like when you go to that shitty Shea Stadium, which I loved, but it was the dump. But when
Yeah.
we were there to watch the Mets take on the Yankees, it was so much fun. And then it was also rough because people would get at it. And when we were little kids, we had this Yankee fans chase us with a freaking knife all the way from the ground up to the top. Like, imagine how freaking scary that must have been getting chased by a Yankees fan with a freaking knife. But those days have gone. Hopefully, this season we can reunite that flame and hopefully we can be competitive, both teams, and we can, have a strong rivalry because it's really been lopsided because the Yankees generally beat the Mets, unfortunately.
Well, there's no question that New York Yankees fans can be a bit of a rough crowd, but there is no more vile fan in sports than the Boston Red Sox. They are just vile creatures. I remember when I turned 14, my parents took me up to Boston to see the Yankees play the Red Sox for 2 games. This was right after David Wells had thrown a perfect game in the 98 season, and he started a game in Boston and it was a big deal because he was continuing his perfect inning streak in one of those games that I saw, which ended during that game, obviously, because he didn't throw 2 perfect games in a row. And I just remember I was 14 years old and people were just saying vile things to me because I had my Derek Jeter shirt on and I'm a 14-year-old kid and they're saying just horrible things to me. Like they're saying like Derek Jeter has AIDS to me. It's like, what? I don't
I
even
love
know.
it.
I don't even know if I know what that is when I was 14 years old.
You might have got the HIV being there with all those scallywags.
It was just Boston Red Sox fans are scum of the earth.
Also who suck? Philly fans.
I was just going to say that the only rival that Boston Red Sox fans might have is Philadelphia Eagles fans.
When John and I went to the Mets versus Phillies in Philly, we had little girls attacking us. Girls were hitting us, guys were hitting us. But you know what? Jose Reyes was on the team. And every time he used to get up to bat, we'd chant Jose, 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 Jose. And the Mets were getting crushed. But every time he went up to bat that game, we got up, we started singing. Every single time, the fans kept booing us. But by the end of the game, 9th inning, the fans respected us. They said the fact that you guys stood in there the whole time, continued singing that song with all the shit you were getting, they were impressed. So the fact that John and I got respect from Philly fans who were assholes goes to say a lot. And John can be very loud at games. He's famous for St. John's basketball games. Like he goes hard. And I think we're going to talk about some tournament, the NCAA tournament in a couple of weeks. I look forward to that. But yeah, John is loud.
There's a story I want to talk about John, but I think we'll save it for the basketball episode because it's more relevant to basketball.
Yeah, let's do that.
Now, speaking of the Subway Series, which I totally agree with you, the Subway Series used to be such a big deal. We got a Subway Series World Series in 2000, which my dad actually went to that World Series with his brothers who were all Mets fans, and they went to the only game that the Mets won in that World Series.
Ugh, they should have went more. They should have went to all 5.
They should have went more. But some people are saying there is a real chance in 2021 of another Subway Series World Series because the Yankees and the Mets could be very good this year. What do you think about that, Sid?
All right. Now, so with me being a fan, I love my teams, right? I always support my teams, but I'm brutally honest. I am not going to give props to a team when I don't believe they're doing the right thing.
Okay.
So, this offseason, the big sell happens. Steve fucking Cohen comes, buys the team. The richest owner in baseball. Fans are pumped. This guy's going to spend money, right? We got the richest owner in baseball. He comes along. First move he does, he brings back Sandy Alderson, some ancient dinosaur. So I told my friend Andre, I'm like, why the hell is he bringing Sandy? And Andre keeps saying, trust Sandy, trust Sandy. No, I do not trust this guy. And holy shit, John's actually calling me right now. That's funny. I'm going to pick up.
Do you want to put him on the show?
John, I don't know if he can hear you, but we were just talking about you. We're recording live right now. Mike and myself on the podcast. We're just talking about you.
Hey, what's up, John?
Greatest podcast ever. That's right. You need some more fans stuff. I love it.
Can you hear him, Mike?
I can hear him.
Nice. But we were just literally just talking about you. And this is awesome, John. We may need your help in a few weeks during March Madness. Mike and I will connect you about that. But we're recording. This is live. I'll catch up with you later.
All right, I'll sit, enjoy it.
All right.
Great podcast. Love it.
He loves it. This is a true fan. Fan.
How awesome is that?
That is awesome. But so anyway, he brings Sandy. And what was going on, what Andre was trying to tell me is, because when you're a new owner, you have to get voted in, right? You just can't go by the team. And he said he hired Sandy because Sandy's well respected. And he needed Sandy to get the job or get the team. But I disagree. He didn't need Sandy. This guy is a dinosaur, should stay out of baseball. He doesn't know how to compete. So he's not really like he's got like a president title. I'm not really sure. But anyway, the offseason, the Mets needed a catcher. They needed a center fielder. They needed a third baseman, some more pitching. And they struck out on all three top free agents in those positions. They struck out because Sandy didn't want to spend. Sandy didn't want to go ahead and bid too much money. You have the freaking owner with the most money, and he doesn't want to spend. Now, I get it. They did go make a trade. They got Lindor, which is one of the best shortstop in the game. They did sign other players, but you're supposed to sign players. You can't just have the same team from last year. You got to spend. But when you strike down the three top free agents, when you have the richest owner, that's disappointing, Mike. And I get it. Everyone's high on the Mets. I'm not as high, Mike. They need a real freaking GM, whatever the freaking position is, to make decisions. They hired a guy, or Sandy hired a guy who's showing his dick to other people. Like, what the fuck?
That's right.
So he gets fired before the season even starts. They also had Mickey Callaway a couple of seasons ago, who I think Sandy might have hired. I forget. Turns out he's also a freaking sex perv. And somehow all this news breaks about Mickey. He's still employed by the freaking Angels. What's up with that? Like, how is he still employed? What happened to the investigation? So I'm starting one for a rant. I'm not as big as not a fan, but I don't think they're going to play as good as people say, unless they make some trades, because they still have some weaknesses. But if they had a Subway Series, of course I'd be pumped. What about you, Mike? Do you think it's a possibility?
Well, in addition to Lindor, you didn't mention Carrasco or McCann, which who they brought in this year. So,
but McCann was like the second. He was like the second tier catcher. I get it. They saved money on they were trying to get the other catcher. So they said we save some money so we can spend it on other people. What do you need to save money? You have the richest owner in baseball. And then they don't get freaking George Springer, who's from Connecticut. Like, come on.
Well, he went to the Blue Jays.
Blue Jays. You think he wanted to play for them? No, he just wanted some more money.
Yeah. But, a lot of people are high in the Mets, so you don't believe the hype. There is room in that division, though. I mean, the Braves, a lot of people think the Braves are going to take a step back this season. Even if the Mets don't win the division, they could get a wild card spot. Once you're in the playoffs, who knows what could happen? So this probably has to be the most exciting season as a Mets fan since 2015. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. And Thor is going to come back at some point.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they have the pieces. They got to make the playoffs. They got to be competitive. If they don't, I want Sandy out of here. Kick him out.
I'm really hoping that the Mets do it because although I'm not a Mets fan, I don't hate the Mets. I really don't have anything against the Mets. And when the Mets and the Yankees are both good, New York City, at the end of the day, is a baseball town. And when those teams are good, the city is buzzing. New York needs a comeback after this past year. I think it'd be great for the city. I think it'd be great for the sport. I'm really hoping that the Mets can do it. But I want to talk about my New York Yankees for a little bit.
Sure, go ahead.
All right. So the Yankees, they are in the middle of a bit of a drought with championships. They have not won the World Series since 2009. Now, when I grew up, George Steinbrenner was the owner of the Yankees, and his expectation was to win the World Series every year. And if they didn't win the World Series, the season was a failure. So the Yankees, by that metric, have been failing a lot lately. Now, they didn't make a ton of splashes during this offseason. Perhaps the biggest splash they made was not acquiring a new player, but it was re-signing DJ LeMahieu, who is a great hitter.
He is.
And they did get Corey Kluber and Jamison Taillon, who are good pitchers, but they haven't pitched lately. Kluber pitched 1 inning last year. Taillon pitched not a single inning last year, and he's coming back from Tommy John surgery. The Yankees have 3 pitchers coming back from Tommy John surgery this year.
Wow.
Also Montgomery, Severino. So on paper, with Garrett Cole as the ace, they have a lot of good pitchers, but a lot of question marks with these guys coming back from TJ surgery. So that's been the big question mark overall for the Yankees the past few seasons, the injury bug. It is just crazy how many injuries this team has sustained. But they do have the depth to fill in the gaps. But no team can really overcome that many injuries.
No.
So we're going to see what happens this year. On paper, the Yankees, you could argue they have the best team in baseball, either them or the Dodgers. They got a great lineup, great bullpen, and those starting pitchers with Cole and then the others, some young guys like Garcia. So on paper, you have a good rotation too, but there are question marks. Who's going to fill in that starting rotation? How are these guys going to bounce back? How's Severino going to bounce back when he comes back? And then the other question mark for me is one of the weaknesses for the Yankees is strikeouts. They have a lot of batters in that lineup that strike out a lot. Now, the flip side of that is that they also hit a lot of home runs, and that's how they score most of their runs. But the problem is when you get to the playoffs, you're facing better pitching.
Yes.
And the story of the Yankees in the playoffs in recent years is the bats get cold. And there is the potential in the playoffs for these bats to get cold and these guys to just be striking out, them scoring 0 runs, 1 runs. That's not going to cut it. They need to score runs in the playoffs. So that's my concern with the Yankees.
It's a good concern.
I don't know how you get around that, though. And really, what general manager is going to say, I don't want this team? It's really hard to complain with the roster that they're fielding. But it's hard to win the World Series these days.
It is.
You could just get in there with a wild card. You could win your division and get eliminated early on. So it's really tough. It's really frustrating, but I am excited for the season. I think they have a really good team on paper. And they did enough to keep that roster together and improve it. There are definitely front runners in the AL this year, but we'll see.
For sure. I was going to piggyback. You made a good point. There's nothing that makes me more excited when you have a player that hits for average, right? 300, who's consistent, who doesn't strike out.
Yeah.
I love that. I don't always want a team of home run or miss. I want consistent players who can get on base, who can work the pitching count, who can just get on base, get hits. And Daniel Murphy was that for the Mets. As soon as they did not sign him, remember that postseason he had when he was just remarkable? All of a sudden he's hitting home runs and he's getting on base. As soon as they said, we're not going to sign him, I think the Mets went down. They missed that. They need a consistent batter. And actually, he just retired this offseason. So thank you for being a great Matt. You worked hard. I really appreciate it because at first no one really was high on you, but you continued working hard. You became a really good player. And again, I want consistent players on the team, and I think the Mets could use someone who's consistently getting on base, and that's another issue they have. They have people that strike out a lot, which is not a good formula, as you were mentioning.
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to talk about, Mike. I think one of the most corrupt and selfish leagues is baseball. Now, I don't know, is it Manafort? I forget the guy, whoever the commissioner is. This guy's a son of a bitch. I don't like him. The more I learn about him, pisses me off. So I don't know if you knew this, but before the season started, they were trying to have a vote to delay the season for like a month, delay it, and also have more time to go over some changes for next year or this season. But the players, they didn't want to do it. They were bitching. They didn't want to do it. So now, we're stuck with some BS, not rules, but for example, the not doubleheader. We'll talk about that too. But the DH, the DH. Last year, everyone had a DH. At first, I was against that, but now I love it. And now the Mets don't have a DH. Like, we couldn't wait a month to really negotiate. Like, they're bitching all over. We've been practicing, we've been training. It's going to derail us if you wait a month. I don't buy it. You play baseball. Like, just take couple weeks off or train on your own. Like, I'm pissed that they couldn't come up with new terms and stuff. The other thing is, I don't know if you knew this or not. So I think this season, again, double headers will be 2 7-inning games. Like, what the hell? Stick to what's. I hate it
so much.
Baseball's been played for over 100 years. Why are we changing it? Why is the game changing? The game should not end like that. Like, you get paid a shit ton of money. The announcers get paid a shit ton of money. Everyone gets paid a shit ton of money. You go there the entire day. If the game goes to overtime, whatever it is, extra innings, you wait. You keep doing your job. You don't go home early. I hate that it's 7 innings. Also, apparently, you start each when it's an extra innings, you start with like a runner at second base or something.
I hate that so much as well.
It's bullshit. And then like all these announcers and stuff are saying like, we don't want to be exposed too long. We don't want the players exposed too long, like have a more of a risk to get COVID. That doesn't make sense to me. If you play an extra 2 innings, how are all of a sudden you more exposed to COVID? Nothing's really changing. You're still with the same players. You're still with the same refs. Like, it's not like they're going to bring more people in. If you get exposed, you can get exposed the second inning. You're not going to, I just don't buy it. I think they're lazy, Mike. I think they just want to make money. Like, again, you're paid money to play as long as the game goes. You're paid money to commentate as long as the game goes. They should have waited a month. And I'm pissed they could not come up with a thing that made sense for everyone. All it made sense is they're just trying to make money. And that's what it's all about. And they're just making too much money. They have too much freedom. I don't like it. I think they need a new commissioner.
I totally agree with you, Sid. And you talked about them mentioning COVID as an excuse. That's just an excuse. I'm with you. The real driver of it is money, like you said. And they have wanted to, for years, to shorten games because that is one of the number one fan complaints. That is what they think causes people to not watch baseball games because the games are too long. And a lot of the games are too long. But extra inning games, yeah, every once in a while you get these 20-inning extra games. It happens once a year at most, once every 5 years maybe. Extra inning games are not the problem, right?
I agree.
Double headers are not the problem. The problem is it takes so long for the pitcher to throw the ball. There is way too much time between pitches. That's what they need to be focusing on. They're focusing on all this other stuff.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter.
Exactly. The other thing is, like, I don't need 161 games. Is it 161? Whatever. It's too many games. I wish they would shorten it, but they would never shorten it because it's about the money. Yeah, it's all about the money. Like, if they gave me less games, but they still played the full 9 innings, extra innings, and no other bullshit, I'd be happy with that. But no, they just want to make their money. They want to be comfortable. They want to go home. Well, screw you. Drives me crazy.
Well, Sid, we could be talking about the 21-20 baseball season for hours. But I'm glad that we got some Yankees and Mets talking. I'm glad we talked a little bit about your Padres, who could be challenging for the division.
Slam Diego.
Even though the Dodgers are trying to repeat as champions. So it's going to be a very competitive division, but the Padres look like they could be able to give them a run. So that'll be exciting.
Question.
Yeah.
Question. If you had to predict, Dodgers repeat or no?
No, I would never bet on a team to repeat. It's just
Exactly,
too hard to do.
me too. It is too hard to do. But I give them props. Unlike the Mets, they're not content. They keep spending money.
Well, they got Bauer.
Exactly. They got Bauer. They just want to keep winning. They don't care about saving money. They're all in. I want a team that's all in, unlike the Mets.
Well, Sid, speaking of the Mets, we have some emails from viewers to ask us some. We asked for the viewers to email us some questions about baseball. We got a few of them, and the first one is actually about the Mets. Would it be okay if I read this email? We start going through the emails.
Go for it.
All right. Steve from East Rutherford writes, the Mets have a double-A pitcher whose four-seamer is so fast they call it the "you can't see me." Do you think there's a chance that this pitcher, John Cena, could be called up to the majors this season?
I think there is. I am pumped for this John Cena. That pitch, what was that pitch? You can't see me?
The "you can't see me."
That's hilarious.
Oh my God. Steve from East Rutherford, we appreciate the humor in all seriousness, but we are not going to tolerate people making a mockery. This is for serious inquiries only.
Exactly. Mike Francesco would not like that question.
Oh,
he would have hung up by now.
He wouldn't have known who John Cena is. So he would have tried to pretend that he knows who he is, and he would have answered the question.
He would have.
Did you get any emails, Sid?
I did. My good friend Andre, who watches this podcast, he wanted us to dive deep in the National League East. We've been talking a lot. I don't want to really spend too much more time on it. But Andre, my predictions are the Mets will be third place. And I know everyone's saying they'll be first place. And you were mentioning earlier, Mike, you were saying, the Braves may take a step back. I don't think so. They were one game from the World Series. They're a consistent team. Again, the Nationals, they won the World Series like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
They're going to do well. Phillies, I think, will bounce back. That's a tough division. Like Marlins, who have Jeter at the helm, I think they're going to do well. All these teams are going to be competitive. And Andre, I know we're high on the Mets. I know all these predictions say they're going to win 96 games. I hope they do. But again, we don't even have a coach. Our coach is in the second year. Luis Rojas? Why? Why couldn't we hire a star? Why couldn't we hire someone better? Like, these other teams have good coaches. So, Andre, I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Unfortunately, unless they make some big trades during the year, I don't think they're going to win the division. But I appreciate the question. I appreciate the viewership. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for that.
Great question. I got a question on the Yankees that I would like to address. Joe from Connecticut writes to us. Hi, Mike and Sid. First time, long time. The Yankees could use a bat on their bench. I hear Giambi is available. Do you think they should sign him? I'll hang up and listen.
What is up with these fake questions?
Joe, go fuck yourself.
Exactly. Go fuck yourself. Like, is there any serious questions? What is all this shit?
I'll try to look for a serious question, but I got to look through the emails.
Giambi.
Oh, it looks like there's a lot of fake ones. Do you have anything?
Yeah, I got a question from Amanda.
Okay.
Amanda was saying, guys, I appreciate what you guys are doing. I was randomly searching YouTube. I don't know who you guys are, but I found a couple of your videos and your podcast, and it's kind of entertaining. I'm looking forward to more stuff. My question about baseball. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of the sport, but I do like an attractive player who's got the sex appeal. And in the past, you had players like, what does this question say? You had the guy on the Nationals who's now in the Phillies. He was a very popular guy. Girls digged him. So my question is, this year, who do you think will be someone that brings in female viewership? That's a question. So last year, I think Fernando Tatis Jr. was that person, right? He became very popular. He's on the show this year, right? And that's cool. Like, he's made so much money, Mike. He's in a video game. There's nothing better than a good baseball game. And Amanda, sorry for my long story. I'll get to that in a second. But your question actually reminded me of video games, baseball video games. Remember in college, Mike, we used to play MVP baseball. How much fun was that? Like,
those games were so good. I really miss that franchise.
Me too. And I remember I was playing against Duffy. I'm winning. Ninth inning, Joe Duffy hits a home run. I jump, I robbed him. I win the game. And I could see the soul leave Joe's body. That memory will stay with me forever. I beat you, Joe. I'm better than you. I will always be better than you. But do you also remember there was this guy who's to always come to our townhouse or our rooms in the dorm? You remember who I'm talking about?
I know exactly who you're talking about. Yeah.
I always forget his name. Antonio. He used to always come to our place because he knew we had the game.
Yeah.
Hey, bros, can I play baseball with you guys? Hey, bros. He'd always find us. The year after when we moved to a townhouse, he just randomly show up. He just wanted to freaking play with us.
Yeah, I don't think he ever talked. I don't remember ever having a conversation with him. He just came to our place to play video games.
Exactly, to play baseball. Like, what the hell? And you know what's really bizarre? After college, I'm visiting with my ex-girlfriend at her law school. Guess who's there at the law school?
Antonio?
Antonio. Like, how random was that? I can't believe you. Antonio, if you're watching, that pissed me off that you came and always wanted to play baseball with us. Like, at least bring in some chips or beers. You never repay that once. You just played for free. I didn't like it. But back to Amanda's question, I think that player this year who may drive in fans is on the Mets, Lindor.
Okay.
He was a very popular player with the Indians. Was it the Indians? But their market wasn't big.
Yeah.
I think now that he's in the Mets, I think he's going to be really exciting. I think girls are going to dig him. He's got a great smile. He's very energetic, very exciting. I think he's the type of player that female viewers of the sport can appreciate because he's going to bring some excitement stuff. And Steve Cohen, fucking sign him. If you do not sign him before the season starts, he's gone next year. Pay him whatever the hell he wants. Great question. Thank you, Amanda.
Well, Amanda, speaking of smiles, you might want to take a look at Aaron Judge on the New York Yankees, who was a man not known for his smile. He has a big gap, or he had a big gap between his front two teeth. But apparently he went to the dentist during the offseason. His smile looks like $1 million now. I hear that the ladies like Aaron Judge, but I cannot vouch for that personally. So he is another one that you might want to look out for on the New York Yankees.
Awesome. Any other questions, Mike?
I think I found a real one.
Okay.
Steve from Kannapolis writes, assuming a full 162 game season, what's more likely to happen this year? Aaron Judge, the aforementioned, plays more than 125 games, or Gary Sanchez bats over 250. Since this is a Yankees question, I think I'll tackle this if that's all right. Steve from Kannapolis, here's what I think is going to happen. Gary Sanchez is going to get off to a hot start in April. He's going to hit 10 home runs. He's going to bat 300, Gary Sanchez.
Wow.
Then he's going to have a season-ending injury.
Ugh.
Oh, hate to see it. Aaron Judge also is going to be battling nagging injuries all season. He's going to play 90 games. So Aaron Judge will play less than 125 games. Gary Sanchez will hit 300, but he will only play in April. That is the answer to your question. Hate to see it.
Great question, Steve. Thank you. I think it's the only questions I had. What about you? Anything else, or are we good with that?
I am looking through the email box, and I am just seeing prank email after prank email. This is just outrageous. You guys got to do better. We are not Mike Francesa. This is a serious talk show. Hate to see it with Mike and Sid. And you can't pull fast ones on us. You can't bring out these John Cena references or these Giambi references and think that we're not going to know what that is all about. We know. We are onto it. If you're going to do it, try harder at least, because that is just pure laziness.
It is. It is. But you know what? We do appreciate the questions. So we got real questions. Continue emailing us. Continue commenting on our YouTube videos. Let us know.
Yeah, and Sid, you and I came out with a schedule for the podcast. We have a roadmap.
We do.
For the next several weeks. We will be dropping in the comments. We will pin a comment for next week's topic, and we will request questions. You could leave questions in the comments on the video. That's perfectly fine. But also, our preferred means of communication is the Hate to See It email address, which will be in the description for the video. Just send questions directly to that email address so that we can read them out during the show. We saw a lot more participation for last week's episode, which we love to see, and we hope that continues. We love hearing from you guys. That just makes this show all the more enjoyable for you and I to do.
That's
Sid,
right.
do you have any final thoughts on the 2021 baseball season?
It's a good question. One thing I want to make a point of. When we have topics, Mike, we're not really, the point isn't to dive deep into baseball and talk about predictions. We might make some predictions, but we're not going to talk about stats and this and that. There's plenty of other ways you guys can get that, right? We want to entertain. We're very knowledgeable. If you have questions, we will answer that. But the point is just for Mike and I have a conversation. We just want to talk about what we like, and we want to give you guys some backstory on each other and of us, so that you can know more about us. Because our friends that are watching, they already know that. But I'm hoping these topics help you guys find more about who we are, and then you guys enjoy it. That's really the goal of this podcast.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Sid. If you're looking for someone to give you an expert deep dive into the 2021 Major League Baseball season, there's a lot of places you could go to for that. I think we gave you some good information this episode, but we're not that show. We are two guys who have been friends for a very long time. We have entertaining conversations with one another. Our friends like to hear us have these entertaining conversations, and we want to share those conversations with you. That's really what the show is about. This is something that you could put on in your house on a rainy day and just have it on in the background. Maybe you're doing laundry, maybe you're doing the dishes, maybe it's a work day and you're just putting it on in the middle of the day to get through the work day. We're here to entertain you. I really hope that we're successfully doing that. And we are, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, you made a good point. Like Greg was saying, he watched last week's episode on Sunday while having breakfast with his wife.
Yeah.
Like, how cool is that? Like that's pretty awesome to know that our friends and their wives and significant others and people that, if you don't know, like Amanda, are tuning in and checking out our show. Like I really love to see it.
Yeah. So shout out to Greg and Christina and everyone else who might have this on while they're having breakfast or going about their day. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate the subscriptions, the likes, and the comments. And we really look forward to next week's episode, which we will have more details to share with you guys about later this week. I'm ready to sign off, Sid, if you are.
I was going to actually bring something up, Mike. Later today, there's this demo that came out on like all the consoles.
Okay.
So Bass texted me. He's like, "Hey, we should play later tonight, and maybe we can stream it." But I've always wanted to play a game with you, like Destiny or Division. I know we played some Division, but it's a new game coming out. I think it comes out in April. It's called Outriders. It looks good. I don't know much about it, but it's in that vein of a game.
Uh-huh. Is it a
think,
Square Enix game?
Yes, it is a Square Enix.
Okay,
exactly.
I heard of it. Okay.
It was like only 20 gigs. I may consider streaming it on Twitch tonight, and I think it'd be cool if the three of us potentially play that tonight and we put it on our Twitch or something. But check it out. I really want to play a game with you that neither of us have played before, and it's new, and it's something that could be a live online game that we could play a lot of, because people love games like that, like Destiny, that remain consistent, that they're constantly updating it. And I think that could be something fun for us to try later tonight. Think about it, shoot me a text. But that's it. That's all I had. I thought today's episode was a great one. Mike, invest in your business. Not that you need to, but I think, get a camera. I think it'd be cool. And I really want to try out that other platform. Like Zoom is cool. It's good. But there's this, what was it called? Riverside Chat or something?
Yeah, Riverside, I think.
Yeah, I just want to keep giving back to our fans. I want to attract more viewership. And I just want to test what's out there. And this is fun. One thing I need, my back is fucking hurting. Excuse language. I need a better chair. I don't know what your situation is.
I got a good chair actually here.
You do?
Nice swivel chair.
Oh, nice. That's good.
It's comfy. Yeah.
Yeah, mine is shit. That's the next investment I need to make. But I think that was another really good episode on a Sunday. And again, Mike, now you know why I couldn't record yesterday. It's because I had to go out there with Ashley and take some pictures. So thank you, babe, for helping with that.
All right. Yes. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you all again for tuning in. The Twitch Twitch streaming is something that we definitely want to get into. I'll let you know about that, Sid. We might be doing that tonight, but if we don't do it tonight, we're definitely going to be getting into Twitch streaming. We'll have more details about that. We'd love it if you check us out on Twitch. Thank you so much. Tune in next week to Hate to See It with Mike and Sid. Thanks, guys.
That's a wrap on episode 5. Take care.
Thank you.